Good evening. This is the fifth Facilities, Usage, and Planning Subcommittee meeting at the George M. Romm Little Theater, Brockton High School. The date is Tuesday, August 30th at 7 p.m. We need a roll call for a quorum. Judy Sullivan,
Yeah.
Tony Rodriguez,
Here.
Joyce Azak,
Here.
and Tim Sullivan is here. We have a quorum. We have 100%. Item 1 on the agenda is MSBA Brockton High School Statement of Interest, update Wednesday, September 28th, 2022. You want to take that, Mike? Or
Yeah,
Dr.
and I'll
Cobb?
hand it over to Dr. Cobb. So, as you know, school committee approved back in April, and then the city council approved for us to file a statement of interest for a renovated or new Brockton High School. The MSBA now has to come out and do a senior study to review our application and then look around the building. So they reached out to Dr. Cobb, so I'll let you fill you in on what the senior study entails.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Good evening. So the senior study essentially is the next kind of big step in the process. So this is a good thing. So what happens is we submit the SOI, statement of interest, and they review it. You know, the original first round is they review it with probably dozens, if not hundreds, of other SOIs from other school districts, and they decide which ones that, you know, it's feasible and which ones I guess they're really ready to take on, either financially. And so the next step is they notify us of a senior study, which means they'll have their senior leadership team from the MSBA come out to the site, meet with our senior leadership team and whomever wants to be involved in that, answer questions. There'll be a question interview session that's about an hour long. We're planning to have it right here. It's on September 28th at 1 o'clock, we decided, September 28th here. Once they finish the question and answer and interview us, then the next step is they'll spend about 2 hours walking through the building to look at everything we submitted, the pictures, and then whatever else that they decide to take a look at. So it's a huge step, because that means that doesn't mean that they're committed, we're going to be accepted. The next step is actually being, quote, invited to participate. And so that once the senior study is done, they'll go back and do their thing with their leadership team. And they expect us to notify us September, maybe October, November timeframe. So we should hear at that point in time if we're invited to participate, which then means they're ready to fund the job, and they're ready to move forward with the next steps, which will be the feasibility study, which can last up to a couple of years anyway, at which time they'll appoint us a owner's project manager to start, to help us through the process, and in which time they will, again, start the feasibility study and look at funding, look at options, and then they'll come up with an option which is best, whether it's renovation or a new school. And that kind of kicks off the process. And in that time, we'll start to formulate a building committee to work with the project manager and the MSBA. So that's the next steps. So it's a good thing.
Dr. Cobbs, could you explain briefly to the people listening at home how it works, how it's going to get paid?
So we have, there's lots of estimates, of course, certainly since the COVID shutdown and supply chain issues and the price of everything, we were estimating between $300 and $400 million at some point for the total cost. Now we're probably $5 million anyway, of which, we, at our rate, the reimbursement rate for the MSBA is 80% basically of the project funding. So we would be responsible for 20%, which again, if we guesstimate, if you will, $500 million, I'm sorry, and then the MSBA will pay 400 of that, and we will be responsible for the other $100 million. That's assuming a brand new high school, but there's different suggestions. Obviously, if they're willing to fund 80%, we kind of go with what their suggestion is.
Yeah. Thank you. Any questions for Dr. Cobbs or the Ms. Hazak?
Thank you, Dr. Cobbs. So this is our second time
Third.
Oh, third time, okay. So the first time was quite some time ago?
Right, the first one I submitted in 2020, I believe it was, 2019, is it 2019, 2020, 2021?
So we've done 3 years in a row.
Okay, so we've been here for 2 of them, that's why, okay.
Right,
So this is
exactly.
the third time, third time's the charm, fingers
Hopefully.
crossed. So my question is, will they give us, if everything goes well and we are approved, would they give us an option to have one school? Is this something we have to tell them, in the beginning, one school or 2 separate high schools?
No, they
yeah.
come in with a team of people, architects, project managers. This is the feasibility stage.
Engineers.
They go through, and then they work. This is like step by step. It's a very thorough process, but step by step, they would continue to meet with us and all stakeholders, members of the school committee, city council, and then they walk you through, and then they would come up with options for you. This is what we feel that they can fund on their end, and then they would come back to the city and say, well, this is what a new school would cost, this is what 2 schools would cost, this is what a renovation would cost, this is what we can fund, and then the city would have to, obviously the city side, because we can't approve capital money, the city council would then have to approve the city share. But again, we're so far out, but the feasibility study is so thorough that they'll go through all those options.
Okay, I mean, this is, I've served on the committee, I've just never gotten to
Right,
the
yeah,
step
we
where we
haven't
actually sat down with them unless it was different in years past. So this is nice. I mean, we are invited to meet with them. So is it school committee members? Who's going to be at this meeting?
Anybody's welcome to come on the 28th. I think Jim
Right.
sent the invitation.
Yeah, we sent the invitation out, but you certainly.
We'll send another
I think
one.
I sent it out to
So
everybody. I
anybody
think just about
available?
everybody responded. Except I think you said you might be away.
No,
You had
I
a range.
was able to move things around. So I
great,
will be
great.
here for the 28th. I will be back the 27th at night. So
Good.
I'll
We'll
definitely.
send an updated, a reminder to everyone. So any of the school committees are welcome to come. Obviously, me, Jim will be there. The principal of Brockton High, obviously, because Ken Thompson will have Alex with us, our HVAC person, who will also show them the boiler rooms, the HVAC system. So they look at everything.
Okay, I mean, that makes sense, to take a look at everything to
Right.
see. So that's going to be definitely interesting. Looking forward to that. And, again, this is, a long time coming. So, a lot of the constituents, and whether it's students or families, I mean, everyone keeps saying, and I hear it from other politicians, we need a new school. We know we need a new school. We know we need to update the school. It's a process.
It's a process.
It's a process. So we know, and we're working, and this will be the 3rd time in a short period of time that they're coming back out to, assess and see. So, hopefully we'll have some answers, and it's going to be a long process, but we're looking forward to it. And the only reason I ask that question is a lot of people are saying, they forget. It's like we have 4 high schools up here, not just one. The 4 buildings are large, and to have the number of students that we have, and because they'll say, the high school, yeah, but it's 4 high schools. So imagine that.
Yeah, you're right.
So
It's essentially 4 high schools.
it's
with
4 high schools.
1,500 students each. It's about.
So a lot of times it's, I've heard of, maybe having 2 high schools or just, so we'll at least see the options, which would be really nice. But like I said, we're looking forward to it. This is my first time being able to actually meet with them. So we're getting a little closer. So
Yes, we are. This is a great step. Like I said, it's very positive, and I feel better this time around because one, by virtue of the infrastructure bill that was just passed, that will help fund the MSBA, and so they'll have a little more money to work with Brockton for.
yeah, like a lot of our surrounding towns have new high schools. It's our turn. So a lot of towns, and Brockton is, I believe, the largest city in Plymouth County. And it's
Most
time that we
definitely.
have our own high school, a new high school. So thank you, Dr. Cobbs.
You're welcome. Keep
Any
your fingers
other
crossed. We'll
questions,
keep
item
working
1?
it.
From anybody? Item 2, Huntington School update. in the?
So we'll open the Huntington with the students, a lot less students that were there last year. We'll only use the first floor. In the meantime, Dr. Cobbs and the facilities team will start to look, they're going to look at the bathrooms first to get it, prepare it to be a pre-K center for next year. So the first and foremost thing is because Huntington has always been the issue of the lack of bathrooms that have been there. And when the Huntington school was there with 500 students, it was always an issue because there wasn't enough student bathrooms or teacher bathrooms. So the facilities team with the plumbers will go in over the next couple of months and, really research, and we really have to add a lot of bathrooms to the facility. It's fine now with the 35 kids that will be going to school there starting in September, but that will be the beginning of the renovation. We'll be adding extra bathrooms, making sure that the sewerage system and the water sources are all in place, and then they'll go in and with the facilities department and then look at the renovations of ceilings, lights, paint, all new carpet, a lot of cosmetic, all new doors. The windows were done in 1990, so they don't have to be done. The gym has been put out to bid for the floor to be redone, and also the windows in the gym have to be replaced.
Exactly. The gym needs a major rehab.
Yeah, the gym needs a lot of work. So that's the process that we'll be going through, and again, we'll do probably 80% of the work in-house.
Mike, it was put out that we're going to move the Huntington up to the Westgate Mall.
Yes.
So a lot of people are planning on that. That's not going to happen right away?
Not yet, no. We're hoping the move would take place right around between Thanksgiving and Christmas, right around that area, that time.
We want to tell the people at home why?
Yeah, well, it's not ready for us to make it a school yet at Westgate, so what we're going to do is we're going to use it for office space. We're also going to use it for, there's 6 teachers that are teaching the virtual school who'll be teaching out of there as well. There'll be the bilingual community liaisons will be working out of there, which will be, I think there's 15 of them.
Right.
That are going to be having meetings with families that speak all the languages, and they're going to be meeting with families. Janice Johnson-Pluma, who does all the work with families around their SNAP benefits and all the benefits from the state, she'll be working out of there to meet. So there's going to be a lot of use for like parents having meetings there with our community bilingual facilitators, and also Janice Johnson-Pluma. Am I missing anybody?
School
the school
psychologist.
psychologist will be up there as well.
So in December or after Thanksgiving, whatever it is, you're going to move the Huntington up to the Westgate Mall?
That's our plan, yeah.
And there'll be plenty of room with all the other stuff?
Oh,
going on?
plenty of room, yeah. Yep.
Any questions, Huntington School? Ms. Azak?
Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Rodriguez. So we've done this before with other schools. So I remember the Barrett Russell. They went in and redid the bathrooms because we have the younger students. There's just only a suggestion because we seem to, just so we don't go into the expense of having to redo it years down the road, is it possible to just have the standard size sinks in bathrooms and maybe just put some kind of a platform for them rather than, because it's a huge difference. When we went to the Barrett Russell, those sinks were really low and they were tiny. And we might have a little bit of the funds at the moment, but who's to say down the road we don't have the funds rather than have them. I'm just saying, because I noticed it when you see it visually, it is a huge difference with the younger students. If there's a way that we are keeping it in-house, but if they could somehow just keep the standard sinks, standard toilets, or even smaller toilets, but at least the standard sinks, and somehow put a platform, because they're not going to be going in there alone anyways. They'll have assistance where they're the younger students. But that's just a recommendation to save us some money down the road, where we're putting so much money into renovating it to get it ready for the younger students, just so we can save. That's just my recommendation.
Sure. So I can address that. So in part of the planning right now, the initial layout of the place, it lends itself well I'm not sure if you're familiar with the classrooms. There's usually like they're set up in tandem, and in between them there's like a sink that they use. And our plan is to take that sink out and make it actually a small bathroom, and then we can put the smaller toilets for the younger students because they're in between the two classrooms. And also we're planning to build it to make it a safe room, just in case we need it for any school emergencies. But the other bathrooms that are in the corridors, the larger ones, will still, I think we'll keep those for the larger, for students and staff to use, so we won't make them smaller, so it
So
will be
they'll be the
acceptable for
standard
both.
and like handicapped accessible.
Right,
It's just,
exactly.
it's not really being picky, but just seeing them at the Barrett Russell and how small they were compared to
Yeah, they
the
are.
standard size. It's a huge difference. And until
close
you
to the
see them
floor.
side by side, just to save, down the road, if we need to expand and use, get some of the older students in there as we move things around. I mean, right now, I think that's perfect. And
Well,
as
and-
always, keeping it in-house makes a big difference.
And typically, the older students won't want to use a toilet in the classroom. They want to go down the hall to use the public rooms. So,
No, definitely. Thank you.
certainly.
Any other questions, Huntington School? Mr. Rodriguez?
Thank you. Is there any construction going on there now? I drove by and seen some digging going on, so I was trying to question that. Hopefully, it's something that we're
Oh,
doing.
yeah, we're putting in, what did Ken say, we're building out there in the parking lot, there's like storage facilities that we're putting out, and we're doing that in the
Oh,
few
yeah,
schools.
it's gonna house one of the Kubotas.
Right.
So what, you'll see them when you drive out of the high school. If you look, we have the sand piles
garage,
on the
yeah.
left by the freshman football practice field. You'll see 6 brand-new Kubotas that we used ESSER money for. That's for snow removal. So what Jim and Ken have done is that they have picked out locations across the city to build a storage place for them, and then that way it can be used to clear the Huntington in South. And I think there's,
the Huntington
you placed
South,
them
up
so
in the
like
Gilmore, yeah.
there'll be one at the Raymond that will cover Raymond and North, and then there'll be one over at the Davis that can be used there. It's just much easier for the custodians to clear snow. You'll see them when you drive it. They're beautiful. I just saw them driving in. So
Yeah, they have
so
a
instead
place-
of having to put them on a trailer and cart them all over the city, they've picked out locations across the city that they're going to be warehoused in.
Exactly,
So
and it
that's what
also
they're building
prevents
there.
from vandalism that's happened at the high school.
Right.
They'll be sheltered and locked inside of a closed enclosure, so, yeah.
One other thing at
And
the,
also about the Huntington, we will get prices for a brand-new playground as well. As you know, the old playground that's on the side would have to be updated and modernized with the surface, all-new play structure. So that would be appropriate for, preschool and kindergarten, age students. So at the same time as renovating it, we'll also put a new playground in as well.
and just one final thing about the Huntington, the MSBA did spend money on the roof a few years ago. And is that a lifetime roof, Dr. Cobbs?
Yes, it's guaranteed, I think the guarantee was like 50 years.
50 years
at
for a
least,
metal
yeah.
roof,
Yeah, absolutely, so.
Yep.
Nice job.
It's
Yeah.
quite an investment. It is a beautiful roof. It
Yeah, it
makes
is. The
makes a
metal
big
roof is
difference.
nice.
I know the building's real old. It's,
But it's solid. It's a really good building. And again, two valuable assets. It has a gymnasium and it has an elevator, which it's prime for any of our buildings. Not all of them have that.
Right, especially a building that age, they usually don't have
Exactly.
elevators.
I didn't know it had an elevator.
Yep, it does.
Any other Huntington School updates? Item 3. Bus
So
depot
just an
update.
update on the bus depot, we continue to look for a new location. We have looked at another location last week on the south side. We're working with the city law office. As you know, the city has to be the ones to purchase any property. But we will be, Aldo is putting together, some financial numbers that we will be presenting probably in October to the city council of the buildings that we're leasing, including the bus depot, and, how much of an advantage it will be if if the city charged us back under non-net, if the city was to buy those, and then we would pay the bond through the non-net budget, which would be a lot cheaper to own rather than, so we'd probably save close to $750,000 by owning the properties instead of, so we haven't given up on our bus depot because again, it's nice to be able to use the fairgrounds, but it's not conducive for us to stay there long-term. So we're hoping that we can start moving this fall to be able to get the city to purchase a new bus depot and then look at the other buildings that we're leasing so we can start to move forward with purchasing rather than leasing. So that's where we are. It's ready to, they've let us do, clear some space, extra space at the fairgrounds, so to have more room for the buses to turn around and so forth. But, again, it's not a long-term solution.
I just wanted to mention, the rest of the buses came in, another 70, so it's 140.
Ready to roll. Yep. Buses are ready to roll.
Need a big terminal for that.
Yes,
We do.
right.
Any questions on the bus depot? Ms. Azak?
I think Mrs. Sullivan first.
Judy, go ahead.
I just had a question on, so now we have a full fleet of
The full
buses?
fleet, yep.
Okay, so we had 10 big buses last year, right?
Yep, now we have a total of 65
65.
large buses.
Large, okay. And
Yep,
then,
so the rest of all them, we had 10 last year, which we started with the 10, and now we have a total of 65. 55 came in over the summer, and then 75 vans,
Right.
so, and 6 wheelchair vans, so we're ready to roll with the,
so
we have,
So the small buses we have, on the small buses, we have how many?
the small buses, we have 75,
Okay. And 68 on the,
and 65 on the
Wow,
large
that's a lot of
buses,
buses.
yeah.
That's a lot of buses.
Yeah, it's a lot.
A lot of buses. I didn't
And
think
that-
that
and-
many would
and
fit there.
8 of them are used as spares, just in case one goes out of service. You need to have the backup spare buses. So, so we're in good shape with. So it's important for us to find a depot that where it has enough parking for all the buses. It has the facilities where we can fix the buses and vans, but it also has enough parking for the bus drivers and the staff, because that's 150 people that have to park their vehicles as well. So it's important for that, as for them to be able to find
Yeah, they look great up
a
there.
good spot. Yeah, it looks good. The buses, brand new buses, look good.
Yeah, it's a great job.
Yep.
I just wanted to ask Dr. Cobbs, on the Huntington School, does that have a cafeteria?
Yes, the cafeteria is downstairs in the basement level. It does have a cafeteria.
Thank you.
Yep.
Ms. Azak?
Thank you. So it is pretty impressive driving by and seeing all our buses. That was definitely a huge accomplishment on Brockton Public Schools. So kudos on that. That's every time I see it, it's kind of like surreal.
Yeah, it
But,
is cool driving by
we've been
there.
talking about it for years, so it is pretty amazing. Given that that's what we paid to lease them, and we own them.
Right.
So, and we started our transportation company. So, just a reminder, and I apologize, I'm drawing a blank. So, the current lease that we have now for the fairgrounds goes from, is it June to June, or is it January to?
It's month to month now.
Oh, so we're a month to month.
Month to month, just so we allow to move if it's mid-year.
Okay,
So
that makes
Aldo
sense.
was able to negotiate that with the,
Okay, because I thought it, yeah, I was that.
it was a year contract and then the option for another year, but before this fiscal year started, we negotiated a month to month.
Okay.
It's the same price, but instead of, that gives us the option to leave at any time.
No, definitely having that option it makes a huge difference, and then being able to find a location for the busing and for the whole transportation department, have it all in one location makes
Right.
sense too. So I know there's some areas that you've been looking. So hopefully everything works out well, and we'd be able to maybe tour it if everything gets finalized, and you have some locations. Maybe we can take a look at them and see
We'll
about
walk
that.
through, yeah, once they show interest. If
Sure, definitely. But no, thank you on the bus depot. So hopefully that'll be coming soon.
Any other questions on the bus depot? Hearing none. Item 4, facilities rental, religious organizations.
So it's been a practice, there's not a policy, but it's been a practice that we obviously allow religious organizations to use our facilities rentals for if they want to have a community event or a bake sale or something that is not religious services. But I've been approached by some churches asking if they could use the buildings like the auditoriums, and it would be either at night, obviously, or the weekends, and they could rent them like they would do for religious services. We haven't done that. There's not a policy, it's just been a practice of the school department. So, I thought it would be brought here because it has been requested. We've had one-offs, like I remember like about 6 years ago, there was a famous pastor that was coming in to visit the city, and we let them use Brockton High to have the service. We have had religious services, like Bill Carpenter's funeral was here. So I just want, again, I don't have a problem with it as long as we have a policy in place. And again, they're using the building out of school time. It can't be anything during school time, obviously, because of separation of church and state, but I've had some church groups ask if they could use auditoriums for religious services. We've allowed it, again, for bake sales and spaghetti dinners and those kind of things, but not for actual religious services. So that's something that's up for discussion.
Is that free for the?
No, they would have to pay a regular rental fee. It would be the regular rental fee, which would be by hour. Whatever the school committee approved, it would be the same rental fee. It depends, in some places are $35 an hour, some are $65 an hour. They would have to cover the cost of the custodian, depending on the number of people. It could be one custodian, it could be two. They have to cover the cost of, depending on the size, they'd have to cover the cost of a police detail. And if it's a really big gathering, they would have to hire a firefighter as well. So they would have to follow, just like we have a dance recital, or anybody else that's renting an auditorium, they would have to follow the same guidelines as what others rented for.
Any questions on the religious rentals? Judy?
I just had a question on rentals. So if someone rents Brockton Public School property, like even the fields too,
Yes.
they have to pay a rental fee. And then we have to get the custodian or?
No, they have to pay. We schedule the custodian, we schedule the police detail, we schedule the fire detail if it's needed, and then they get billed for those services.
Oh, okay, so then they get billed. And
They
what
have to
about
get
the
billed.
cleanup?
That's part of the custodian. So if they're having so say the event is taking place at 10 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon, then the custodian comes in at an hour before and stays an hour after, and they get billed for the total time.
So the group has to pay the bill?
Yep.
Okay,
And it depends on, again, it depends on the custodian. Some custodians who are more senior, if they pay what their hourly rate is. So if it's a custodian who's, has been here a long time,
Same
they're
thing
going to
with
pay
the
more.
police.
If it's a police sergeant or a police lieutenant or captain that takes the detail, then they have to pay their rate. We don't pay any of that. We pass that on to the rentor.
okay. So, like when we use the police for traffic purposes, when school starts, for the safety of everybody, then
We pay for
if
that.
it's a lieutenant and lieutenant makes that much an hour, then they have
The
to pay
city
that.
bills us for that, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, depending, we can't pick who can do them. It depends on how it's a seniority thing, so how their details, overtime goes through. The police department has to follow their contract.
Right.
That's like at if you see basketball games, some of the football games, you see if there's a lieutenant or a sergeant or a captain, it all goes by what their contract allows.
Right.
Yep.
And then if it's a custodian, or any of them really, if it's a Sunday, do they get paid time and a half, or?
Yes.
Okay.
The overtime, it's the overtime rate.
Okay.
Yeah, and it goes by, at first, if it's like, so say the event is at East,
Yep.
then the East custodians get first, right of refusal to, they obviously the custodians of that school, and then if they can't do it, then there's a district-wide overtime list of custodians, and they just go through that list and keep going through, and then restart when everybody's gone through.
Right.
And that's another contract thing that we have to follow.
And then if they are going to have an event at it, well, the schools also, a lot of them have a park next to it. but the schools don't take care of the parks.
Yeah, so
So-
if, like, east, west, north, south, for an example, they're permitted, Barrett Russell, they're permitted by the Parks Department. So we can't, if there's a mess left behind, it's up to the Parks Department to come and clean it. And it's a lot of times our custodians will have to do it because it will end up making a mess in our parking lot. And
Right.
we've had this conversation on and on and on. So
Yes.
it's something that we've talked about. Mr. Rodriguez has brought it up. You've brought it up. And
Yep.
it's something we have to
If people.
start to really talk about with the city, about especially the
Yes.
parks that are adjacent to schools.
Yeah, because what people have to understand if they're having events there is this is a child's school, and children, shouldn't have to come to their school with it looking like trash all over the place.
And the
So-
issue is that, if you have an event at a school, obviously the only place for those people to park is in our school parking lot.
Yep.
So if that parking lot is left a mess, then our custodians have to clean it up when they come in on Monday morning, because you have to clean it before the parents and staff and kids get there.
Right.
However, we don't govern the people that are using those. That's the Parks Department.
Yeah, it's a real problem in the city
Right.
with people using the fields and then leaving them a mess. So the trash bags, if they're left there, the Parks Department would have to come get the
Pick 'em
trash
up.
bags.
Yep.
Even though the DPW does trash, but it would be parks.
It falls under the parks, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, you're right.
Mr. Sullivan?
Mr. Azak?
Thank you. So it's been quite some time since I've actually looked at the facilities rental agreement. And with other things, it might be not a bad idea to take a look at it, see if we as a committee need to update it, where maybe require, when, depending on what type of an event it is, maybe require a deposit that if they do leave the place, because I've seen it after some events. I mean, even the inside in our halls is like lipstick on the walls, and we do have a cleanup, and it's going to cost us money to clean this up, so it might not be a bad idea. With everything, you go to a regular facility, they will walk it with you. This is what it looks like, and if we have to come in and clean up after you, and for example, I know a big thing is this glitter when you go to events. Some of the function facilities have certain things that you are not allowed to
Can't bring in,
use.
yeah.
So we might maybe updating our facilities rental agreement to throw in a deposit, and I don't have a problem renting it to religious organizations as long as we know what the event is, and as long as they have enough with any event, as long as they have enough security and enough custodians, and it should be one of those. I know in years past we've had issues with rentals, and sometimes you want to hesitate depending on how it was left from a previous event that should, so maybe not really write them up, but keep a list. Like if you rented our facility and it was left a mess and it cost us money to have to clean it, not only are we taking the deposit, but we're going to have stricter guidelines if you decide to use it again. Same with our fields. If things happen, you have to control the crowd that's going there and make sure that we don't have any issues. Again, it is our school, and our students need to be here. If it's a weekend, our students need to be
Need
here.
to come Monday, yep.
Yeah. So, and our custodians, like everyone else, shouldn't have to be cleaning up.
Right.
So
So
people
we'll
should be
do,
responsible.
in Friday's packet, we'll send out the form we currently have for the rental agreement. We'll also send out the prices that we charge, so we can review those as well. And I'll also send our rental agreement to Peter Mello at the same time, just to make sure all the legal aspects are covered, because, anytime you rent to an outside, the liability is on them. And that's in the form, but it's good to have it updated by the attorney.
And I apologize for interrupting. That's my second question. I forgot. So I know when we rent, like for example, my church or other places, if you rent and sometimes you have to pay a little extra because you have to have some type of a rider on their insurance if something was to happen while they're at your facility. So what happens in that situation? Does our insurance cover a lot of,
It's on the renter.
so it's on the renter, okay.
Yeah, as you know, there was a serious event last spring here at the high school where somebody was seriously injured. And that is on the company that actually rented, so it was, I forget the actual event that it was. It was a competition, a band competition, and unfortunately, the gentleman died. And it was, and it was the insurance company for a company that is liable for anything like that, unless there was negligence on the end of the facilities, like if there was something broken or, but it's on the actual renter. But if we rent a place and there's an issue with something broken, then it's on us. I mean, that's why we have to make sure when we rent out a facility, we don't rent it out where there's a chair broken and somebody's gonna sit in it and then fall, then, that's on us. So it's probably best that we also come up with a checklist for custodians to check off things before and after the event, so there's a clear record of what's left behind.
So, the other question I have is, there was an event, I don't know if it was this year, earlier in the year, or maybe late last year, where there was an event up at the high school, and it happened in the parking lot, and we just didn't have, and I apologize if I'm wrong, but I don't think those that were putting on the event had enough police detail, because no one picked it up. So maybe put wording in there, if there's not enough police detail, we reserve the right to not move forward with that event. I mean, we can't
Absolutely.
take that responsibility.
Yep.
And I think, and I don't know if I have the correct information, but I just don't think
You're
they
right.
were able to get enough police, and something happened in the parking lot, and it could have been worse. But we should reserve the right. If you're not able to, even if you have to hire your own private detail, private security, again, I think looking over the we might need to just tweak it a little. I haven't seen it. This is actually, the first time I'm requesting it.
Yep.
So it might not be a bad idea to, update it, given, this is also another way of us getting money into our facilities
Absolutely.
department. So it's not a huge amount of money, but we do,
It's a good amount of money.
Make it off the
actually is
rentals and
something
off
that
the
has helped
recitals.
us pay for a lot of upgrades to facilities.
yeah,
As our
hopefully we can get
rentals.
our system in there.
Right, no, right, no.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're right. I actually had that conversation this morning with Zelinda, because she was, asked me about a organization that wanted to rent, and I believe it's a religious organization, and they because they are a nonprofit, they assumed that they didn't have to pay a fee. And it's like, no, that's not the case. So I think you're right, having those clear guidelines and policy is important, and we can send it out to them. And if you want to rent the space, here's what you have to work with. And I agree, the issue with having security or police details, it's been problematic, because sometimes, depending on the event, sometimes the police don't want to pick up the details, and because it's a large crowd, or it's unruly, and there's been problems with drinking and eating and food in the parking lot. So, requiring what they have. I requested, let me see your plan for security. Let me see the organization. Let me see, what you have.
Could we get like a preferred vendor list, maybe those that have been approved by us, that know if you're here, if you're a security company, this is what we expect. If you're a food truck, this is how we expect you to leave. Just maybe have a preferred lender, those that have been approved. Anyone's, they can all submit. They just have to make sure that they follow what requirements we have for, you got to clean up. Again, our facilities shouldn't have to clean up, or we take a very hefty deposit. If we have to pay for them to stay and clean up and have to bring in extra guys. Again, we have an amazing facility, and everyone uses it, and hopefully, we'll have a brand new facility. But Brockton High is used by so many different organizations. I wouldn't mind getting like a breakdown of who uses it and who uses it on a regular basis, to see. I mean, I know they've had meetings down in the cafeteria. I walked in, I think it was a Sunday morning, and they utilize the school for so many things. So, but thank you so much.
Judy?
I was just, I agree with that, having like a facility thing, but that only involves the schools, and the parks we're not in charge of. So that would have to go through city, Parks Department,
we
which is
have
the
to have
city.
them.
So if we're going to have something that people have to, I think we should work along with the city council and make sure that the parks, since they're attached to our schools, should have the same kind of form.
Right.
Yeah, I
Okay,
mean, I was
so-
just
You're right.
speaking mostly like for the high school and stuff, but yeah, they
Well, we can
Yeah,
put
but the
something.
should
parks are a
be.
real problem.
Yeah, they should
A
be,
real,
and-
real problem.
Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, you're right.
Tony, you had a question?
Thank you. Questions and a few comments. When it comes to, schools that are adjacent to parks, I've been battling this for like 19 years. It's still bothered somehow. You ever feel that's at south or east that, that's the schools failed, but I don't know where in city government, how long ago that the school department has to go in front of the parks department to pull a permit for our students to actually utilize the field. It makes zero sense because that's what's happening.
Right.
And, I've had conversations with a few members on the board and the superintendent and even the mayor that it's time for those parks to be under the school department's total control moving forward. And when it comes to facilities, I rent the high school for many years at the stadium. You have 2 house managers, you have 2 janitors, and with the police detail, it's a hit or miss. Some will show, some won't. There's so much details in the city. They'd rather be sitting in their cruiser than standing in the hot sun or any type of weather at the stadium. But, moving forward, obviously, we want to take a look at the facilities rental agreement. Knowing that it's an issue with security and police detail, I don't know if we can put something in there where we could utilize some of the new access control staff members and utilize the metal detectors that we have at the high school. So, and that should be added, automatic, that we're going to have access control and
Right.
that should be updated there. And also the fees, I'm not sure where they line up now because I know youth sports first, then it goes to the adults. So that's how it's done. But, working with facilities, I know that we turn down a lot of groups because we don't have the facilities to, accommodate a lot of the outside adult groups. And then, obviously we're going to, working on a plan to, turf some fields in the city, which would be another asset for our middle school sports and the whole city as a whole. So,
That's a good point about the access control. Yeah.
yeah, and that should be for all of our events, even in the schools specifically. What's going around,
Basketball games and stuff.
basketball games, and even at the middle school level, they have those games and making sure that everybody's safe and
Right.
utilize those access control. And if we,
That's a good
there's money there, we can get some more of those portable metal detectors.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Good point.
Facilities?
And
Judy?
just to be clear about the religious organizations, and these are just for buildings that are owned by the Brockton, or by the city of Brockton. So we are not allowed to sublease. So the buildings that we're leasing, Westgate, 661 Center, the bank over at, the old bank over on
In Maine?
North Main, any of these that we're leasing, we cannot sublease. So people have inquired about other of our buildings that we're leasing, but the landlords will not let us sublease. And we're not covered. We're not covered. Then we would be having an issue with liability. So what I'm talking about is rentals. It's the actually buildings that fall under the ownership of the Brockton, the city.
Judy?
You know what, I withdraw my question because I just figured out the answer to it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a question, Jim.
Any other questions on facilities?
Here.
Ms. Azak?
I just wanted to agree with Mr. Rodriguez, is moving forward, we do have those portable metal detectors, and no matter where we go, whether it's a concert, baseball game, football game, a lot of big event locations, it's routine. Let's just get in the habit of it. And those that know we have the metal detectors, they're going to know not to bring something with them, hopefully. So that is just, if we get in the habit of that moving forward, again, I think we need to rewrite maybe some of the application that we have in our agreement, go through it and get a little more thorough, because it's been some time that it's been updated.
I agree.
So again, it's 2022 going into 2023. We have other liabilities that we're looking at that we didn't think of years ago. So definitely looking forward to working on that.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you so much.
I agree.
Any other business? Item 4, Mr. Rodriguez?
Mike, do you just want to give the subcommittee an update on the presentation that we should be making? I don't know if we got the exact
On
date
the
yet.
school
What the
committee?
yeah,
I mean, at the city council?
the city council.
Yeah,
what the-
so we're going to be making a presentation to the city council. As you know, 1.8 million was bonded just over 3 years ago, before COVID hit. Back in 2019, when Moses Rodriguez was mayor, the city bonded 1.8 million for a turf field, which could have been anywhere in the city. We're proposing that it's going to, it's the Policino fields, which are right behind the rink here.
Easier?
Yeah, the AZF rink. So we are going before the city council on September 19th to present the drawings. We have an engineer working on plans. Kevin Cairo has the same company that designs fields for Gillette Stadium and the colleges around, the local colleges, that will have an architect drawings, engineer plans, and pretty much a price tag on what it will cost to have those fields turfed for multi-purpose football, soccer, and any other sports that play on turf. So we'll be presenting to them on the 19th of September. And also, yeah, so I'll go over that, and I'll also have another update on facilities as well, because, so let's do this one first. Then I'll tell you about what's coming up about the Keith Field.
Any other questions? Ms. Azak?
So we're definitely on the agenda for September 19th
Yes.
at City Hall.
Yeah,
So as a committee,
Councilor Thompson.
okay, perfect. And do you know where we are on the agenda, or is it still early?
No,
Okay.
they haven't formed it yet.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. And then the other one, under other business is, the Keith Field is going before the city council. I thought it was, I just got informed today by Councilor Alley, it's going, for September 7th, which is the same night of our school committee meeting. City council has their meeting on Wednesday, the 7th. I thought the Keith Field was going back on the 19th, but it's coming up on the 7th. It was referred there, I believe, by Councilor Farwell. There's some issue with them trying to change something with the zoning of the property. So it's being questioned by the city council, and they've asked if, we could go. I said we had a meeting at that time, but I've been clear that we are standing by what the school committee voted on and what they approved. And but the councilors who have asked for the information from the school committee, all the information, we have provided that. That's an update on the
Okay.
Keith, so we'll see what happens.
Any other questions on facility rentals?
We can maybe, what I'll do is I'll send Ken Thompson, can go to that meeting, because he actually has worked with, he's been in the meetings with the city about the Keith Field. He had the architect design the field that we want, the one that we approved. So I'll have Ken go to that meeting, just so he can let us know. And if they need to ask questions about the school side, he can answer them.
Moving on to item 5, other business. Any other business to come before this subcommittee? Ms. Azak?
If we can somehow pencil in with Dr. Cobb, since we're all present, we have a lot of moving things going on that are facilities. If we can just somehow pencil in maybe a meeting for sometime in October, we should know by then what's going on with the Westgate property, and we should know what's going on by then with our busing depot, if not sooner.
And we'll be able to have an updated facility stuff that we can vote on, like the rentals, the form.
Yeah, we can, I mean, Mr. Sullivan, you are chair, so maybe do it maybe first week in October. Do you think, Dr. Cobbs, that would give you enough time? We're all here, we can all pencil it in, we can always move the date, but it's easier when we're all present.
So what's the Tuesday after Columbus Day? Is that the first meeting? No, it would be the week before that. What's the first Tuesday in October? In October? Oh, it was moved? How come? Oh, okay, Jewish holiday, okay.
I think we just moved that.
Yeah, so what's the next what's the?
It's on October 11th.
So let's do the 11th at 6 o'clock?
Nope, we already have a diversity.
Oh, the diversity one. So do you want to do the off Tuesday?
It's up to Mr. Sullivan and the committee. I just think facilities is, a lot of people
What's the
schedule things
following
with
Tuesday?
facilities. We definitely want that application reviewed.
You want to do the 18th?
18th of, I'm not sure about the
18th is
committee, but where we need to review the application, I mean, we can try to squeeze in maybe an off night when there's another subcommittee or something. It's up to you where
The
we,
other Tuesday before there?
No, the 4th is the Jewish holiday. The following one is diversity subcommittee.
What time is that? Oh, that's before a school committee meeting.
Do that. The 18th we're free, and the 25th we have free.
Well, let's see what else we can work for a date.
because our attorney's going
Closer
to,
to early in October.
okay, because the attorney's going to review the application as well. So I think October should give all of us plenty of
Right.
time. We want to get in there before they start scheduling
Right.
things for the fall.
Right.
Okay, even if we just remove that, review that, Mr. Sullivan, just to get that.
Yep.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
okay. We'll figure out, we'll work with Mr. Sullivan to get a date.
If we can touch anything on that week or not, I'll work along with him, and then
All right, we'll see if we can get one in there.
email to everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Item 5, again, other business, any other business? I said two things, Mr. Thomas.
Yeah.
The Adult Learning Center, is that going to stay where it is now? In the Gilmore School?
Yeah, there's no changes to any of those.
And the other thing is the Neighborhood Health Center, which is coming up here. Is that on hold now because of MSBA?
No, it's on hold because of production of the actual facility. It's behind schedule, which we figured it would be because of production. The actual building isn't ready. It was scheduled to be delivered in July. It's probably not coming until the end of September or October. The Neighborhood Health Center.
The hospital
Yeah.
out here?
Again, supply chain issues, the actual delivery of the building is delayed. So,
Delayed for months.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's months. I can get an update again from the Brockton Neighborhood Health, but I think the last projection, you're right, it was October, maybe.
October, yeah, they're way behind schedule. They're at least 3-4 months behind.
You know, the lead time, they say one thing and then, they keep getting pushed back.
Right.
Just one other quick question. If the Promise School, where is that going to be?
The prom school is the building at the same spot, the one up here at the fairgrounds. What's the address for that, Belmont?
440 Belmont.
440
Oh,
Belmont
440.
Street. Yep,
Okay.
that's the same building they've been in for the last 2 years.
Right.
2 years?
Is it already
2,
3 years?
yeah, I
already?
think it's 2, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Either Dr. Cobbs or Mike can answer this. Can we look for space here at the high school for an outside basketball, not courts? We have beautiful tennis court. We just dumped a lot of money in there, but Brockton, this is Brockton High, and we have no outside basketball court here at the high school.
It actually should be put, it's a good point, we can look
If
at,
we could look at some space.
so you look at the other side of where the pool is? You know where the pool is, there used to be some kind of a squash court there. You'll see it, there's the slab that's there. It probably has room for 2 or 3 basketball courts.
Yeah, that's what they use for the JV, use it for practice over there, football.
No, no,
If
if
you
you-
wall there, the tennis wall?
No, that's the
far
freshman
side.
field. If you look right on the other, where the pool is,
Yeah.
right there, it's all
Oh,
flat.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
like
right.
an old
Where the trailer
squash
is, the
court.
trailer and the
Yeah,
and the porta potties
and it's
are-
between the pool and the softball field.
Right, right.
There should be room in there. It's flat, and there should be room in there for 2 or 3 courts.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And it's actually, it really doesn't need much, a little amount of leveling, because it's pretty, because there's already
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
there's an old, it was like squash or something.
yeah, you're right.
Was
There's a hard surface there or something.
Yeah, exactly. So there's room there. We can move
Right.
you can obviously move the storage containers, and there's
Right.
got to be at least room for at least 2.
Yep.
There might be at least 3, but we should get the good ones.
One final question. What's in Center Street on the building? What is there?
Right now, the 661,
Yes.
we're using the large assembly area for our new PD center for all meetings, large meetings will be held there, all trainings will be held there. The downstairs, the first set of offices is where Linda Cahill moved, so all the nursing. Linda Cahill moved there with her office staff. She had to obviously vacate. She was in the Keith building, that's where her office was. So the director of nursing is there. And then the early intervention, so the students have to be evaluated for early intervention, 3 and 4-year-olds. They used to have to go to the Adult Learning Center for that. Now, the team that evaluates them, it's about 10 people, and all their equipment, they're there as well. And also technology. So we
repair
used to
people.
fix all the computers at the bank building, the old Rockland Trust.
Right.
That's where all the computers were being fixed, all our laptops, student laptops. There's a large multi-purpose room at 661 Center, which is now where the technology department fixes all the laptops. It's actually
Repair
great
depot,
space.
it's huge space.
probably about the size of this room. Much better for, repairing all our laptops. So that's over there as well. So we got a lot going on over there.
Yeah,
We're
it's
getting
a
our money's worth.
Busy place.
And then the old Rockland Trust is now what it was made, that's where the principal of the virtual school is housed, the adjustment council is a house there for the virtual school, and also the administrative assistant. They're all housed at the Rockland Trust, and when a student has to come in and meet with either the principal, or if they have to meet with the parent, or if a student needs help with the adjustment counselor, they go to that building in person to meet. So that's what the Rockland Trust is being used for.
Wow.
Exactly.
You got everything up there.
I have a quick question.
Ms. Azak?
Thank you. So I know before COVID, we had talked about growing our culinary program, culinary / maybe hospitality, over at the Shaw Center. Any works on potentially getting back in there? Especially where all the renovations were made, and rather than leaving it empty, if we can...
I think what I was told, and we can double check this with the mayor, I think it had to be used, because it was a regional vaccine site, I think it had to be used to a certain date, then they could go back to being used for
Or at least let us get in there and use
facility,
the
so
kitchen area.
we'll have to talk
you know.
to the mayor about.
Yeah, even if, because I know we have the students at the high school, even if they
Yeah,
could
the
just use
plan
the
was to
kitchen
have,
area.
that was the plan, to have them use it was using the kitchen for the Culinary Arts program to grow it. We also had a plan for hospitality, so they knew how to do events and functions. We also still have plans to move, not move them, but have a school store in the old Rock store.
Yeah, definitely.
So that would be a Brockton's high school store. So people didn't have to go into the high school to buy Brockton High, stuff. We wanted it there, so that's still all a work in progress.
We had talked about it a while ago, as far as having all the schools have their gear there.
Right, yeah,
So like,
we
for
don't have to
example,
just be Brockton
Brookfield,
High,
they're out and about on a Saturday or a Sunday or after hours, and, that way all the schools, elementary and middle school, if you want to get your gear there and the schools are closed, we could work with them in the various PTOs, PTAs, but...
I know that Mr. DiAugustino, the counselor for the ward that represents that area, Brockton High and also Rockstadium, was going to bring it forward for discussion.
Okay, perfect. Again, we got to grow that program, because we're working on programs for our students. So definitely need to at least maybe see if we can use the kitchen where it's not being, I don't think it's being used, but maybe if we can use the kitchen and have them train in the kitchen, But thank you.
And just one final thing, we had the walkthrough at the May Center down on Summer Street, the new community, the new school, Summer Street School,
Champion High School.
Champion High School.
new Champion High School.
There you go.
But I was talking to Dr. Cobbs earlier tonight, he says a lot of work has been done since this was, I was there 2 weeks ago. It looked good then. But do you want to just explain what's going on there?
Certainly. Well, in the, I guess the short answer, it's a school now. It's fully ready to go. The desks and chairs are moved in. The teachers are in there actually this summer setting up. And just by the way, a habit I have is when I go through the buildings in late summer and teachers are in there setting up, in their shorts with their kids and helping set up the classroom, I always say thank you for coming in and, taking your time, bringing your own time to come in and set up your classroom. It shows your commitment and dedication to the school and the students. So the teachers are in there setting up their classroom. Some of them are already done. I mean, they look beautiful. All the chairs are set up. The cafeteria is set up. All the tables are in. Kitchen equipment is installed and wired, and the serving line is ready. The kitchen is fully functional. Let's see, all the offices, administrative offices are set up. It's a school. It's ready to go. The custodians have been in there for the last month and gone through and stripped and waxed all the floors. The building is ready. The outside grounds, if you haven't been there, are beautiful. The new Victory Garden is set up with the fencing around it, and it's got a greenhouse, and it's amazing. It's ready to go. It's fully functional.
I just want to congratulate you and the superintendent for doing that job so quickly. It was, it's only
lot of
been a
work.
couple of months.
It's a lot of
Yeah,
work,
the
but we have a
building's
truly, along with the teaching staff, and we have a truly amazing facility staff, because we did, all the grunt work in with our own, assets, and we had to obviously contract out technology and different things, but, the facility staff, like I said, the craftsmen and trades staff, and the custodial staff are second to none,
Yep. And I want to also, Jim, the teachers have done a ton in there, all the staff that works there, but also the new principal, Sue England, who she pretty much didn't have a summer. She was there every
Been there all
single
summer,
day,
yeah.
making sure not only there, she was back at the Keith, making sure everything that was labeled right to move. Between going back from the Keith to the new Champion, she's been. I don't think she took a day off this summer. And there's again, just it's not only the teachers, it's all the staff at the Keith that are moving over to Champion have really done it. And they're excited about such a great new spot to go into. So they've all put a lot of time in this summer to make sure that the school's ready to welcome the students. And it's just exciting that students are going there. They have transportation. They have green space. The difference is going to be amazing.
It was beautiful when I was there. Any other questions, other business? Ms. Azak?
I'm
You're
sorry.
next, Tony.
My hand always goes up quicker, Tony. Just one last question. Signage. Is signage going to be up for the Champion?
Yes,
the Champion
they've
School?
already installed the outdoor signs, the letter changing sign. They already put the post in the ground and put the sign up, so they just have to finish completing it. The electric sign on the street, it already says, Brockton Champion School and Special Education Department. The awnings now it doesn't say Mason anymore. It says the school entrance and the staff entrance. So still working on getting the interior signs for the classroom, numbers installed, but the exterior signs are in place already.
Thank you. Yeah, because we always refer to it as the May Center, but it's a
No,
Champion.
It's Champion
It's
School.
a Champion.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Is the gym on the rental block now?
It will be, yes. I work with the lender to, absolutely. It's a nice, it's not a full court gym, but it's got a nice synthetic floor.
little
so
size.
and it's well lit. I mean, we changed all the lighting out for new LED lighting, and it has natural daylight, which it's beautiful. Absolutely. It'll be on the rental, facilities rental list.
Any other questions, other business? We need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to
from somebody.
adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion's been made and properly seconded. By a show of hands, all in favor? Meeting's adjourned.